Hi, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Megan.
Welcome to the Grimdark Diaries.
We're your geek gal pals obsessed with true crime and all things dark and disturbing. Welcome back, everybody, or welcome if you are new to the Grimdark Diaries. We're happy to have you with us today. Oh, Nikki, do you remember a couple of weeks ago when I told you this story about our ghost in our office?
Your typing ghost?
Yes. Today was wild, and there were so many witnesses. So where I sit in my office, I have like a direct view of our door. And all of a sudden we're just sitting there working away, and our office is very open concept. We don't have cubicles or anything like that. It's just open desks everywhere throughout the office, so everybody can kind of see each other. Sound travels horribly well in that office. You just can never kind of get your work
so
done.
Don't talk shit about your coworkers.
Yeah, we try to keep that on the down low. No, I'm just kidding. But we do need to keep it quiet because like sound travels so well. Anyway, so we were all super, super quiet, engrossed in our work. And all of a sudden I hear the doorbell ring. I look up and there is no one there. Also,
wait, what kind of a doorbell is it? Is it like an actual bell or is it an electronic one?
It's one of those ones that I don't know how it works. I'm assuming it's connected Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or something. So it's just its own device, and you press the button and it goes to a thing. It's a speaker that we have plugged into the wall around the corner. So, and we only have the one, and it's at the front door. We don't have one at our back door. We actually just took that away not that long ago. And not that long ago, we changed the way our doorbell sounds. So now it's like a fun little happy tune, and it does it twice.
Yeah.
But the doorbell sound we heard was the old bell tone. I was like,
that's weird. And there was nobody at the door.
There was no one at the door. So I look over at Tracy and my boss, and she was about to put her mask on, ready to go to the door. And I was like, there's no one there. I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to help anybody because there's nobody there. So we were just like, okay, well, that's cool. I went over to like make sure, because I work in IT, I made sure that the speaker was working properly and that the doorbell was working properly, that nothing was like stuck in it to make it go off by itself. Mind you, this is the first time it's ever gone off since the last person who rung it, which was probably like a day or two ago.
Yeah.
And everything was fine. Everything was working properly. I pressed it once and it was the new doorbell ring, and which was totally different than the first doorbell ring that we heard. And I was like, okay, this is kind of creepy. We're just going to like write it off and get back to work, everybody. Everybody was just looking at me like wondering what's going on and why it was a different tune and all this stuff. And so I sit back down and we're just working away. And I think maybe 2 minutes pass. And a girl I work with brings her dog in on Thursdays, Wednesdays through Friday. She brings her dog in like 2 or 3 times. She had her dog in, and it's a little Shih Tzu, and she's the cutest little thing. And all of a sudden, she just woke up out of nowhere and bolted it towards the back stairs and just starts barking like she's about to bite somebody in the ankles. Like, it was wild. There was nobody there. There was no one. And we even looked down the stairs. There was nobody at the stairs. Like, just at nothing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, she actually like probably sees the ghost, and she is definitely trying to attack it.
Yes. I feel like animals see things we definitely do not see.
I completely agree.
And they sense things, at least, if they don't see them.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was my wild afternoon. And everybody in the office, because everybody was there. There was probably like 10, maybe 12 people in the room. And we were all like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to explain any of this. So we're just going to keep our head down and go back to work. But everybody's like a little frightened. The dog runs back to their owner, and she picks her up and she's just holding onto her. And I'm like, is she shaking? And she's like, no, she's fine. And I'm like, oh, so it's just me then. I'm the one shaking. Yeah, we have a ghost in our office for sure. No doubt.
Maybe it's a friendly ghost, though. Maybe they're there to help you.
Well, she's the one who we hear typing. I assume it's a she. I don't know why. Everybody calls her a she, so I assume.
Does she feel like a feminine energy?
I think that's what it is, yeah. And she's just typing away and having a grand old time.
Girl gotta work. She's
right?
busy.
Exactly.
Y'all are interrupting her?
Well, we were all so quiet. I don't know. Maybe she was just trying to liven things up because technically we have a holiday tomorrow, so not really a holiday, but a day off. And
You have a day off tomorrow.
Oh, you don't have tomorrow off?
I do not. The New York Stock Exchange is not closed, and therefore I am not closed.
I suppose they don't celebrate Remembrance Day down there.
They have Veterans Day, but it's not.
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah, it's the same day.
Oh. But then they also have like
they don't.
Memorial Day or something. Do you get that day off?
Memorial Day is in May, and it's instead of our Victoria Day. It's the week after.
Oh, so you don't actually get like a November holiday.
I get Thanksgiving.
Oh,
yeah. See, I know the American holiday schedule better than I know the Canadian at this point, because for 7 years I've worked for a company where I have to work American holidays. So
that's interesting. Okay, so you're gonna be off when everybody else is working.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Honestly, the November holiday is my favorite because it's always the last Thursday of November is American Thanksgiving. And what I do is I then use a vacation day so that I don't have to go in on Friday, and I'm off Thursday, Friday, and then I get all my Christmas shopping and stuff done, and I'm like all ready for the holidays.
Oh, right, because it's Black Friday that day.
Yes.
All the Black Friday sales. That's right.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And my work used to have our holiday party every year on the Wednesday before.
Okay.
Because we would be closed on the Thursday.
Nice.
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't go because I don't have any friends, but.
Well, how do you make friends, Nikki?
I don't go not with salad. That's all I've learned.
You don't make friends with salad.
I had one friend and she went to a different company, and now I don't want to go back in the office without her. I'll be too sad.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very sad.
I'll have to make new friends.
Yeah. Well, how do you do that? You have to go to holiday parties.
No, because then I would just be there alone, standing by myself. I'd feel like such a loser.
You can't bring your husband?
No, you can't bring anybody.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Staff only.
Why would they do that?
I think it's, we have a lot of employees and it's completely open bar.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's fair. Is it fair? I don't know.
No, if I would like to bring my husband.
I don't know. I've never heard of a
stand in a corner alone with him.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like you can mingle better when you have somebody with you, in my personal opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just drink copious amounts of alcohol.
Yeah. Okay, then this is my goal. I have to make some friends at work before my holiday party next year, which could possibly happen because there's no holiday party this year.
Oh, I suspect not. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to hold you to it.
Oh, God.
No pressure. You have 1 year.
Yeah, I'll just make the people on my team be my friend. I'll be like, I oversee you. You have to be my friend.
Wow, no pressure there. Hopefully they don't listen to your podcast.
No, I don't think they will. I don't talk about it ever.
That's fair.
If I was friends with them, then I would tell them about it.
Right. That's fair. Oh, man. All right. Well, you don't make friends with salad, but you do make friends at your office.
Yeah. So everyone send us an email at thegrimdarkdiaries@gmail.com. Please tell me how I can make some friends at work, what I should do.
Making friends as an adult.
Scare them.
It's hard.
I think it is too. And
it really is.
Sometimes I can have an overwhelming personality. I feel like I do.
No, I don't think you do. Your personality is what drew me to you. I like to have outgoing friends because I am not so outgoing when I'm not drinking. When I'm drinking, I'm very outgoing, but when I'm not drinking, I can be pretty quiet and introverted. So I like having bigger personalities around me that help me feel like I am more outgoing than I actually am.
Yeah, we're a good balance.
We really are. I think so.
Yeah, you reel me in a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Good. Tone it down. I don't think I've ever had to say that to you. I think you're fine.
Well, is it time for some crime?
Heck yeah, it is. Bring it on.
My category, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was I scream, you scream. We all scream for a Ponzi scheme.
That's 100% what it was.
Nailed it.
We didn't move it to the other section, but that's fine. I still see it.
There's like duplicates on that theme list. Our theme list is just
fine.
not. It needs some maintenance.
It's a bit
we haven't
bit
looked
of a
at
clusterfuck.
It is. So hope you roll something that makes sense on there.
Yeah.
Or if not, just lie and nobody will be able to tell because we can't see your screen.
That's true. It can be whatever I want.
When I was researching Ponzi schemes, it really stressed me out because the whole point of them is they all involve a lot of money and some kind of financial investment of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the industry I work in. So
True.
I was just reading about it and it made me very sweaty because I'm like, oh my God, because I could just, I don't know. It just made me nervous. Like, what if one of my clients or somebody I knew did this?
No. I guess it would like be, you would be able to see like some red flags or something researching.
Oh, yes. Yes. See, these are like, they usually happen in things that are unregulated, but I work in a very regulated financial industry.
Perfect.
So it's very unlikely that it would happen. But
Good.
I mean, Bernie Madoff was like the biggest Ponzi scheme in history and people thought he was legit.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, well, I'm not going to talk about him today.
Okay.
But I actually would love to talk about him because I find Ponzi schemes very fascinating. I think it's because I work in the financial industry.
I think every time I hear Ponzi scheme and money and financial things, I usually like drown out. Like I don't really, but that's because I've never like personally been interested in those types of stories. But
which
like,
is fair.
Hearing it today might be different. But
Yeah,
I'll let you know. At the
well,
end.
lucky for you, we're gonna take out our Grimdark History books.
Wicked. Super stoked about that.
Because first we're gonna learn why they're called Ponzi schemes and what they are.
You mean
because I've never
dictionary
really
then?
thought about why.
Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
I get that from How I Met Your Mother. Ted Mosby, all he says is encyclopedia. That is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, get your Grimdark Encyclopedia.
That's right.
Yeah, we laugh here, but we also learn.
That's right. You make learning fun.
For anyone that doesn't know, Megan and I are just having a lot of laughing tonight. That sentence was awful.
It's been a very, very, very rough week / maybe last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've reached like some kind of breaking point where everything is funny, even if it's not. So I'm sorry.
I'd actually prefer that breakdown than like one where we would be the, subject of the stories we tell here.
Oh, if I don't laugh, I will start crying because I've been having a really rough time lately.
Oh no.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is good. It's good that I'm laughing.
That's right.
It's how my emotions are coming out.
That's right. Exactly.
All laugh, no murder.
We'll feel
Put
so
that on
much
a
better
t-shirt.
after this episode is over. Not about the story at all, but just all the laughs we're about to have.
For anyone that isn't sure what a Ponzi scheme even is, it's basically, it just involves a phony investment and early investors are paid with the investments of later investors, making the whole thing appear legit. So if Megan was running a Ponzi scheme and she was like, yep, I can give you, if you invest your money with me, I can double it for you. So I would give Megan $20 and then somebody else would give Megan money. And then she just uses the money people give her to pay out early investors. So it seems like people are getting money.
I
Does that
actually
make sense?
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a Ponzi scheme was.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Okay.
So basically people give you money and you basically the people will keep it and spend it themselves. And then when somebody's like, hey, I want my money back, you just give them somebody else's money and hope that other person doesn't then come for the money.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like the shell game. You're just like
sketchy.
shuffling money around
Right?
while spending other people's money.
Super sus.
Although Ponzi schemes have been happening for a super long time, they didn't actually earn this name until the 1920s.
Okay.
Charles Ponzi told his investors that he was able to take advantage of fluctuating currency values to purchase international postal reply coupons. These were postage vouchers that senders of a letter from one country could include to facilitate a reply from someone else in another country. So pretty much like a self-addressed stamped envelope kind of thing, right? You would just prepay postage. Mm-hmm. So he basically said that he used fancy words and was like, due to fluctuating currency values, I can purchase these at a discount and then sell them for more. Yeah. So he told people he'd be able to get them a huge profit if they invested with him. And then when investors would ask for more details of how exactly this worked, he would just say, oh, I can't give you the details because then competitors would know what I'm doing and they'd ruin it.
Interesting.
Ponzi promised investors a 50% profit within 45 days and a 100% profit within 90 days. And at first, that's exactly what investors received. His early investors were making like total bank off of this. So then this seemed like a very successful place or a very successful operation and where to put your money.
Right.
So then investors were just throwing their money at Ponzi, being like, oh, I want in on this. I want in on this.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's sketch.
But yeah, in reality, he wasn't making a profit at all. He was just using the money from new investors to pay out the old investors. And that's why he was like, oh, you have to wait 90 days. You have to wait 45 days.
Right.
Because then he'd get a new investor and then he'd pay the first investor and then he'd get a new investor and then he'd pay the second investor.
Oh my God. That is bound to catch up with you sooner or later.
Oh, yeah. Eventually, he was investigated and his whole scheme was brought down, which led to a federal criminal investigation, resulting in mail fraud charges and imprisonment. So that is why they are called Ponzi schemes, because of this guy.
I didn't actually realize it was named after a person.
I didn't either.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to be known for that.
I know.
Your legacy is literally actual, like, it's a federal offense, right? I assume.
Yeah. So that was Grimdark History class. There'll be a pop quiz next week. 300 multiple choice questions, an essay portion, and that will count for 98% of your grade. And then you also need to pay me a bribe. Thanks.
For like the 4-minute discussion we just had.
We grade hard and fast here at Grimdark,
Yes.
Megan.
Pardon?
I don't know.
I wish all history classes were this short and sweet.
Yeah, I could have got my university degree a lot faster.
Right?
For my case today, I wanted to find something that wasn't just financial investments, like not just stocks and that kind of stuff.
Thank God.
I wanted to find something that like had a little extra to it.
I am grateful for that.
Yeah, I know that some people don't find stuff like this interesting. So I was like, I got to find something a little juicier than just like, he was trading fake stocks.
Right. Also, we got time to fill. How do you do that with a straight up Ponzi scheme story?
Yeah. So looking for something a little bit wild brought me to John Fox. In 1980, John opened a wine store near San Francisco called Premier Cru. The store didn't do super great at first, but John kept with it, and a decade later, he came up with a plan to help the business succeed. He would start selling very sought-after wine at a discount, anywhere from 10 to 30% off of the normal market price that other wine stores were selling it for. People that collected high-end wine were thrilled about this. They were able to get things like the $2,600 bottle of Petrus that usually went for $4,000 in auction.
Gosh, what?
Yeah.
For one bottle of wine that you finish in
bottle.
like a day?
Yeah.
Wow.
In a day.
I'm sorry. Or is that just me? Maybe
In a sitting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's these. So all the money I'm going to talk about too, this was in the US, obviously. So these are all US dollars. So a $4,000 bottle, that would be like $4,900 Canadian.
Oh my gosh.
For a bottle of wine.
That's crazy. Wow. Wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, our rate of USD to Canadian is brutal.
I try not to think about it every time somebody says something in the US. I'm like, I don't even want to think about what that is in Canada.
That's something I deal with at work constantly because I work in the financial industry. So people buy and sell different currencies. And I'm like, oh God.
Seriously. When I first started streaming on Twitch to subscribe to a Twitch streamer was like $4.99 US. And I'm like, oh, sweet, $5. That's awesome.
No, it's not.
And then you start subscribing to all these people. And it's like, nope, that's actually not what I'm paying. It was like ended up being, I forget what it was, like 6 something. And then eventually now I don't know what it is in the US right now because they actually converted all the dollars to Canadian. But now it's like over $8 to subscribe to somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just, what a scam.
Yeah. I know it's mostly a status thing to buy wine that pricey, but I find it's just outrageous for something you're just going to drink.
Right? Know? Yes. I'm drinking wine that I bottled myself at a...
Are you? I was going to text you and tell you to drink wine tonight.
Really?
And then I did because I was like, I want Megan to be drinking wine while I talk about wine. And then I forgot because I'm having a day.
Connected on that level that I knew that you wanted to. Oh my God.
That explains why we both have the giggles.
Yeah, exactly.
Megan's getting drunk and she's just feeding it back to me
exactly.
through our cosmic connection.
That's right. Cosmic connection. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the wine that I bottled with a group of people from work. And we called it the White Wet Nurse.
Excuse me?
I don't know why they named it that, but that was the name of our wine. And yeah, it's very delicious though.
That's quite a name.
I don't know what it means, but anyway, maybe. Maybe if that's bad, you can cut that part out.
Yeah. I've had fancy wine before, but not like $4,900 a bottle. But I've had bottles of wine that were like a couple $100s. I didn't buy them.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't purchase them. It was like I was at a work thing or I was with somebody and they at a restaurant and they purchased fancy wine. And I'll tell you right now, honestly, they were just as good as a $30 bottle of wine. Yeah, I could not tell you the difference.
Yeah, I don't get the appeal unless it's just for the like bragging rights or whatever.
No, I would much rather spend that money on something else.
Totally.
Like an army of plastic life-size skeletons. Just as an example.
Not life-size. They're like 15 feet or something like that.
No, I want one of the 12 foot.
Oh, you
but
want
then like an army of just the normal life size.
Oh my God.
I only have 2 right now, and it's not enough.
Do you actually? I didn't know that.
I do. Yeah, if you came to my Halloween party, Megan, you would know.
You know what? I hate being a celiac. I'm just going to say that right now. I hate it. I actually feel like I'm worse now than I was before I was diagnosed.
Yeah, it's because it's out of your system now. So now you know when you don't feel
good. Exactly, which is, I don't know. I guess if you tell me one day that I'm fully healed and I'm not going to die from this, then I guess that's great. But the effects that I feel when I'm like accidentally glutened, which is what happened on your Halloween party day, that is the pain I never want to feel ever again in my whole life. But when it happens, it takes me out for like a day. Yeah. Sometimes day and a half. It's horrible. So
back to wine crime.
Right.
God, I almost at a half an hour. I just started this story.
This is gonna be, well, we all just spent the first 5 minutes laughing our asses
That's
off.
True.
Trying
we couldn't
to do
say our
intro.
own names at first. Yeah. It was a real struggle.
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like at the beginning of this episode, the intro is going to sound really monotone because we couldn't say our names and we had to keep trying. So then it was just like, hi, I'm Nikki, trying not to laugh.
I couldn't look at you for one.
No, I couldn't look at you either.
And then, like, every time I was about to say a word, I could feel the laughter, like, you know, it gets caught, like, in your nose. Mm-hmm. And, like, every time I went to open my mouth, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to laugh again. Anyway, back to the story.
Continue. Yes, we're back to it. Okay, focus. Another one of John's regular customers recalls buying 2 cases of a particular 1990 vintage of wine for $18,000.
Oh my gosh.
Which he was super happy about because other retailers were asking for $20,000.
Oh, wow. You saved a whole $200. When you're talking about, $2,000. Yeah. I can't math, obviously. Yeah, that's wild. Even $2,000 for a bottle of wine is absurd.
Right? Not only was John selling this fancy wine at a discount, but he was also selling wine futures. To understand. See, I'm going to explain that.
Okay.
Yeah. So to understand what this is, we need to first kind of get in the headspace of people that really like wine. Like, I'm not talking about you or me, Megan, that splurge on a bottle of Nova 7
right
for like $27.99 at the liquor store.
It's about as much as I want to pay for a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Honestly, that's my favorite wine I've ever had.
Same. Yeah. I love it. It's so good.
These are people that consider themselves like, ooh, I just punched my microphone,
Boop.
connoisseurs or aficionados, and they have massive fancy wine collections. In order to secure all of these fancy wines, a lot of them will buy wine futures. Anyone in the investment industry, it's literally exactly what you think it is.
Like pre-ordering.
Pretty
wine.
much. Yeah, that's what it is. So basically, you're buying a promise for future wine. There are two kinds of wine futures. One is you buy wine that has already been bottled but hasn't been out for sale yet. So that's called a pre-arrival.
I feel like that's safer.
Yes. And the other is buying wine that hasn't even been made yet. A vineyard might say that they have a particular vintage of wine that will be ready in X amount of time. And to guarantee that people can get a bottle, they will buy a wine future at an agreed upon price to guarantee that when the time comes, they will have a bottle of that particular wine. So it's basically just paying up front a certain price to collect the wine in the future, regardless of what the future price might end up being.
I guess it depends on where. You can't guarantee harvest. Like, I know here we have so many, like during harvest time, there's so many days where it's like, I think it's in the springtime. And there's been so many times where they, like, their whole crop is ruined because we get frost right into like May and June.
See, that is the perfect segue into my next point.
Well, look at me again. It's
I'm so proud of you.
Connection.
This cosmic connection. Keep drinking the wine, Megan.
Okay,
Keep drinking it.
Oh, with my cosmic,
that is a very galaxy cosmic cup you have there.
I feel like it was actually called the cosmic whatever.
Ooh,
I don't remember.
Ooh,
yeah, I know. It's the ghost from my office.
So with these futures, it can possibly benefit the purchaser or the seller depending on what happens to that wine and the price of the wine in the future, which is why it makes it a type of investment. Right. So you purchase the promise of wine now at a particular price. When the time comes for that wine to be sold on the market, it can go one of three ways. So it can sell for the exact same amount that you paid for it. It sells for less than you paid and you lose money because you overpaid.
Right.
So that would be an example of if the crops were bad and it was shitty wine, they'd have to sell it at a cheaper price. And when you bought it, you paid more because you thought it was going to be better.
Right.
And then the flip side of that is it sells for more than you paid because it was a really good vintage. And then you would have gotten it for a bargain because you still get it at your price.
That's a gamble.
Right. So it affects the seller the same way, but opposite.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. So it's basically the vineyard and the seller of the wine, they're kind of hedging their risk of making money on wine because if they sell these futures, then if the grapes turn out shitty, at least they're going to get money, good money for these futures.
Yeah.
Even though the wine turned out to be shit.
Right. Oh, and do you know how far in advance they bought these futures?
It all depends. Different vineyards sell for all different timelines.
Okay. But I guess that would
it could
that's
be
the thing,
years.
because depending on where it is, they might be able to harvest grapes all year round.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. Like, we only have one season here, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
So John's wine store, Premier Cru, started to get really successful when he started selling these wine futures. And he only did the pre-arrival futures. So it was wine that was already made, but it wasn't for sale on the market yet. So he had an email contact list. People subscribe to it. And he would send out email blasts every week being like, I have, 30 cases of this particular, I will have 30 cases of this particular amount of wine in 6 months. Who wants it, kind of thing.
Right.
And
trying to make his money back.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. But he would be selling it at a discount from what other wine stores were selling.
Right.
So
but still more than what he paid
correct.
to get it. Okay. I'm
correct.
Following, sort of.
Yes. No, yeah, feel free to ask questions.
Okay.
It's one of those things where because I deal with financial industry stuff every day, I might just be like, blah.
Right. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I will.
Because if you're confused, that probably means everybody's
true.
confused.
Very good point. Yeah.
So the store got super successful and John eventually moved it to Berkeley, California. He had lots of satisfied customers buying these pre-arrival wines from him. And Premier Cru became one of the big names in the fine wine industry. The company had $20 million in annual revenue in the mid to late 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Another factor that made Premier Cru desirable to wine collectors is that with the purchase of these pre-arrival wines, John would also happily store them for you at no extra cost. A lot of the wine he sold was young wine, so instead of the buyers having to take up space in their own cellar while they wait for it to age, John would offer to store it in the company warehouse cellar for them.
Oh, that seems almost too good to be true.
Right? And often when people were buying this, you would buy a case of wine. So
Nice.
Instead of having to put a whole case in your cellar, John is like, oh no, I'll just keep it in the warehouse for you here.
Okay.
Depending on what wine customers were buying, the arrival time was typically 6 months to 2 years for when it would arrive at Premier Cru from its vendors. He would then offer to store it once it arrived in store if people didn't want to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
John was heavy into purchasing European wines. They were definitely his biggest seller. He would often use the gray market to purchase these items, which means he would buy from brokers and secondary merchants rather than working directly with where it came from.
Oh, he probably got better pricing that way, maybe?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the gray market had a lot of shady stuff happening.
Of course it did.
Yes.
If it's going to be called the gray market, which is
I know.
slight shade different than the black market.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it would take longer for him to get the wine from there, but he'd be able to get a better price for himself.
Right.
But then he'd still be able to charge the normal markup at his store.
Which was still cheaper for his clients, which is why they
Correct.
continued to buy from him. Okay.
Yes.
I'm following.
Yes.
I'm proud of myself. I'm sorry.
I am very proud of you.
Thank you for knowing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. You're going to be so knowledgeable by the end of this.
I know, and I'm literally never going to have an opportunity to bring up this knowledge ever again. But there will be that one day, and I'll be like,
There'll
I
be
know
one
this.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're going to be on a date sometime and you're going to be at dinner and you're going to reach that point where you're like, oh God, what do I talk about now? What do I talk about now?
Exactly.
There'll be a lull and you start to panic and this will be the only thing in your mind. And you'll be like, do you know about the wine Ponzi scheme by John Fox?
Well, now it will be.
I'm really happy I planted that seed.
Yeah, that's definitely in there. It's going to grow over time.
So even though John was getting a lot of these wines from the gray market, his clients said the bottles always arrived in pristine condition. They arrived within the time frame, he said, so they, felt it was worth it for this discounted price. They didn't mind that he was getting it through there. John was very invested in running his business. His employees say he worked 6 days a week and he would come in at 7 a.m. and then stay until 6 p.m. He never really attended wine events, though, which most people in the industry, I guess, do.
Well, that would make
They have,
sense.
fancy wine things where they all get together. I don't know.
If it's-
wine cons. I'm
It's
not
like
sure.
a
I just say everything is a con.
wine con. I love it. I wonder if that's such a thing. I feel like if you do dabble in wine stuff like that, you're pretty passionate about it.
Yeah. And I guess people often, especially if you were a seller of wine, they would often travel to the regions where they get the wine from to
Totally.
test it and to find new vineyards and make connections.
Mm-hmm.
And John never did any of that either. He just stayed in California and worked in the store.
That's where his gray market is.
Yeah.
He networked in the back alleys.
Yeah. In his personal life, he was super into fitness, and he actually had a personal gym in his office.
Oh, la-ti-da.
Right? Fancy.
All right.
He was said to always be dressed in suits, and from all accounts, he was a really good boss to his employees. They described him as very even-tempered. He covered 100% of their health benefits for all of his 20 to 30 people that he had on staff at any time.
Wow.
And that's pretty good for the US too.
Yeah, totally. That's good for Canada.
I say that like I know fully.
Right.
But all I know is you don't have universal health care. So I imagine it's very expensive.
Fair, yeah. I suspect a lot of companies have some sort of health coverage, but I don't know what the coverage would be. I assume 80% is pretty standard, but that's my knowledge from Canada, so I don't know.
For happy hour on Fridays, he would actually open up the very pricey bottles of wine for his staff to try.
Wow.
He had a wife named Gail, but she had no involvement with the wine business, and he kept that part of his life very private and to himself. He and Gail purchased a $2.3 million house.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Buddy is doing
just
well.
Casual. Just casual.
2 mil, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
just
normal.
Easy 2 mil, no big.
Right.
Do you know how many life-size plastic skeletons I could buy for $2.3 million?
This would be an army that took up like the entirety of this city.
Oh, it would be like the Battle of Helm's Deep with plastic skeletons.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I could recreate the Battle of Helm's Deep.
That
with
would
plastic
be
skeletons.
Epic. Oh, I would love it.
If you'd like to donate to the Grimdark Diaries so I can buy that many plastic skeletons.
The dream that she's always had as of 5 seconds ago.
Yes. Don't crap on my dreams, Megan.
I'm not crapping. I want to see this happen. I love everything to do with Lord of the Rings, so please bring it on. With skeletons, even better.
Over the years, John's wealth grew, and so did his collection of just rich person stuff. He bought many fancy cars. He had a Ferrari, a Maserati, a Corvette, a handful of vintage muscle cars, which I read.
How many vintage cars can you really fit in a hand, though?
I don't know. Yeah, that's...
Where does that saying even come from?
Well, if I had an army of skeletons, they could each fit one in their hand.
That's true.
I read in one article, and I mean, it's not really relevant to the story, but I mean, it provides a bit of color, that he liked to park his fancy cars in the handicap parking space outside of his store, even though he did not have handicap plates.
Wow. That really shows a true character of a person.
Right? That's what I felt like I needed to include that.
It really does. Wow. I thought he was doing really good because of all his, I mean, it feels shady where you're going with it, but I thought he was doing well, taking care of his employees and all that stuff. That's really nice.
Yeah.
But that's to hide probably what he was hiding. Hide what he was hiding. Yep.
You're a good detective.
Put my detective hat on.
Employees did note that John would be slow to pay some suppliers, and a few even cut him off from making future purchases.
The gray market cut him off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
The employees all kind of just chalked it up to him being super disorganized. His desk was a total disaster. It was piled high with papers, and all of his invoices and bills and stuff were not organized whatsoever.
It sounds like he didn't have any administrators to help him out with any of this
No,
stuff.
he didn't at all.
He did it all by himself.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, we'll find out why.
I mean,
I
feel like I know where you're going with this, but yeah.
Yeah, he's cooking and it's not in the kitchen.
Bring out the old cookbook.
When suppliers would call employees about their invoices not being paid, they would know what to do. So they'd be like, just come in and speak with John directly. He's always here. So then they'd show... Yeah, so they'd show up and then they'd eventually just kind of like yell at him until he wrote them a check to cover the invoice. So then that also like made the employees think that, okay, he has the money. He's just,
Right.
forgetting to pay or slow to pay or whatever.
Yeah, disorganized.
In 2008, when the global financial crisis hit, sales dropped at Premier Cru, just like they did for a lot of wine retailers across the U.S.
Right. That was a tough time.
People started seeing issues with their wine delivery, and bottles of wine would be listed. Bottles of wine.
Sorry.
Bottles of wine would be listed at marked up prices on their site, and then after a while they wouldn't sell, so then they'd be heavily discounted, like discounted way beyond what a retailer should be selling this kind of wine for.
Right.
So
and
clearly,
so they were probably not making a profit. They were doing like
No.
into the deficit now or something.
No, but if he ordered this wine, he would have to pay it. So he was looking for just any amount of money so he could pay the suppliers.
Right, right.
In 2012, a discussion board was started on wineberserkers.com.
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 Okay, when I think of berserkers, I think of like, aggro tank,
No, I think these people are just so berserk over wine.
Oh no, my mom's probably a part of that group. Love you, Mom.
So this discussion board was titled, "Why Does Premier Cru Take So Long?"
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yes. So the discussion board would get a lot of comments from people having the same issues where they were buying wine from Premier Cru and then they'd go to collect and they wouldn't have their wine. What seemed to really coincide with a lot of these issues was that starting with the 2011 vintage Bordeaux had a run of really crappy crops and not great wine, so people didn't really want to pay the high prices for it, so nobody was buying wine futures for it anymore, so they couldn't make any money on it.
Right.
Customers that paid John hundreds of thousands of dollars for wine would show up asking for it, and he would just keep telling them that shipments were delayed.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Whoa.
But we all know that today's theme is Ponzi schemes. And Mr. John Fox did not, in fact, have all the wines he promised to sell.
Of course not.
Not all of them, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He got himself in some deep water, and he was doing whatever he could to keep his expensive lifestyle. He would purchase some cases of wine, but if he purchased 10 cases, he would then list that he had 30 cases on his site.
Oh.
So he was selling what he called phantom wine that he didn't actually have.
Oh, snap.
Yes, and then he would pull his, we'll keep it stored in our cellar for you at no extra cost.
Yes.
So then not all customers would want to collect.
Wow.
When some people would demand their wine, which he didn't have, he would sometimes seek out another retailer that sold it, use money from other wine futures to buy at full retail price to give to that customer.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Yeah. But then that meant that he used the money from someone else's wine future, and then he didn't have any money to purchase their wine.
How do you keep track of all of that?
Not well.
Not well, obviously. Like, how do you remember I took the money from this person, so I have to make sure that I eventually buy the futures for this particular wine, because when they come collecting, I'll need to have prepared or... Whoa. I'm stressed out thinking about that.
And, he had a really expensive lifestyle to also maintain, so...
Right.
He had to use the money for that as well.
Of course, because, yeah, what would you be without your 600 cars?
Right?
Handful
John
of cars.
eventually maxed out. What?
I said, your handful of cars.
Yeah. Just a couple handfuls of cars.
That's right. Totally fine. They're all dinky cars, by the way.
Yeah. John eventually maxed out his credit cards trying to get wine to pay back angry customers. And John even started asking some of his employees to borrow money. His longtime IT guy, Brian Nikki, agreed and let him charge $25,000 on his credit card.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was he in on it? Did he know?
No.
Wow. How could you
Nobody knew.
be so oblivious?
Right?
He's living this lavish lifestyle. Sell a car or two.
You would think that
Right.
that would be the right answer. Downgrade your $2.3 million house.
Right? Got an image to uphold, apparently.
Yeah. When he was asked to be reimbursed, John didn't have the cash. So he just offered him some wine instead.
Oh, God. Somebody else's future.
Can you imagine?
No, I absolutely could not.
Yeah.
That's
Can
not
you
worth
imagine
it.
going into the vet to pay your cat's bill and be like, actually, could you just take this case of wine instead? Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm bartering with them.
Yeah.
You don't want the wine? Why?
Yeah.
I don't have the money.
By 2015, the list of customers who paid John lots of money and hadn't received any wine was very long, and they were getting very vocal. A lot of people connected online, and they were complaining all about the same issues. Also in 2015, The Haggler, which is a column in the business section of the New York Times, ran a letter from a customer of John's who wanted help getting wine that he had ordered from Premier Cru 6 years ago.
What? 6 years?
Yeah, so he paid a lot of money 6 years ago and still didn't have his wine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly that is long overdue.
Right? And so the haggler guy from the New York Times managed to actually get John on the phone. And John's response was, oh, this guy must be a newbie wine purchaser. And, you know, he's not used to waiting a long time for fine wine like you have to.
What?
And then he also blamed his staff for not giving correct dates to customers.
Oh no. I feel like that is a very bad thing to do, to
Oh, yeah.
throw all the
It is.
people under the bus that have been there to protect you the whole time.
Yep.
Yikes.
They were pissed.
I bet.
All the dates that they'd given to customers came directly from the mouth of John.
Wow.
Because they just work in the front store. They have nothing because he
Exactly.
won't let anyone help him in the
Right.
back.
Right. Yeah.
It got so bad that one day a customer walked into the store, helped himself to multiple bottles of very expensive wine from the shelf, saying he was owed wine and the employees were welcome to call the police if they wanted to stop him. And they chose to not stop him or to not call the police.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess
Yeah.
that's how they felt about what John said
Yeah.
about them.
John asked one employee if anything could be done to counteract the very negative rating Premier Cru was getting on Yelp. Employees checked it, and the only positive review lately was from a John F. saying it was the greatest wine store in the U.S.
He couldn't even use a fake name.
No!
What the frick? Wow, that is the worst trolling I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. Oh, man.
Even with all of these cracks showing in his business, John added to his car collection, acquiring a $165,000 Ferrari.
How?
I don't know.
Wow.
At this point, Premier Cru owed the county $270,000 in property taxes for the years 2011 to 2014. He owed the state of California more than $200,000 in sale taxes. Premier Cru's bank had placed a lien on the property for amounts owing. And John also had not paid for insurance on the complex in more than a year, despite having millions of dollars of wine stored in there.
Seriously.
In October, the same month that he took delivery of the new Ferrari, John put the Berkeley property, where the store was located, up for sale, asking $7.5 million. The staff obviously knew that, stuff was going wrong, so they were hopeful, and they were like, oh, maybe if he can sell this, it'll be okay.
Oh, God, I have a feeling he's just going to use that money for himself.
Well, they don't know, because a few weeks later, the staff was called to the second floor conference room for a staff meeting. John wasn't there, but there were 2 lawyers and a criminal attorney.
Oh, snap. Uh-oh.
They broke the news that their boss was under investigation by the FBI and that they got notice that agents could raid the premises at any moment.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So the employees were told what? That they had the option to leave, or?
No.
Oh, okay. Like,
they had to
hey,
keep working,
up.
And they were super panicked.
Seriously, why would you even tell them? Like, that
right.
seems so weird that they would tell them that. I guess the lawyers would probably want to be like, hey, here are your rights.
Yeah. They were not only worried about a possible FBI raid at any moment, but they were also worried about angry, empty-handed customers showing up. And, what are they going to do? They just work there.
Right.
They're just basically working retail.
Or those from the gray market who haven't been paid yet either.
Right. The staff actually sounds pretty great. They called as many customers as they could to try and get as much wine to them as possible. So they went and checked in the warehouse what wine did have people's names on it. And so they called those people and were like, you should probably come get your wine immediately before it's taken away.
Wow.
Because if the FBI comes, they would confiscate everything.
That's amazing. They care obviously about the people, not John getting his sales out there. Wow.
John was still scrambling to make sales at this point. He sent an email blast out of the tens of thousands of people on the Premier Cru's email list, offering bottles of a 2013 Grand Cru White Burgundy that retailed for $1,200, but he was offering it for the shiny price of $360.
Wow.
Right? Quite the discount.
Seriously. Oh, man.
A few days later, he emailed again, taking another $11 off the price.
$11.
Yeah.
Oh.
At the beginning of 2016, Premier Cru filed for bankruptcy, claiming $7 million in assets and a mind-blowing $70 million in liabilities.
$70 million?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
US dollars.
Wow. And that's not even the price of the car he paid. Or no, that's... Could you imagine?
The $70 million car? That thing better take you to space.
Okay, all
that's
of
the
his
cosmic
cars
connection
together.
car.
Yeah. All of his assets at home. Wow. That's
the
wild.
filing listed 9,200 creditors. Some were suppliers that he ordered wine from, but most were clients. A number of them were facing 6-figure losses. Of the $70 million, $45 million was owed to clients that bought wine futures from him.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
One person, these facts really get me. One person purchased $479,000 in wine, got nothing.
That is a lot of money.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Another person purchased $837,000 in wine.
It's like almost $1 million just in wine.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I can't even.
The customer who invested the most had purchased a total of 1,591 bottles of wine and paid John a total of $900 almost $982,000.
Wow.
So just shy of $1 million.
Wow.
Out of those over 1,500 bottles he purchased, he only ever received one.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That must be like one of the most expensive wines.
Yeah. I mean, technically he paid like almost $1 million and he only got that one bottle.
Oh my gosh. That is just mind-boggling.
Yes. That guy brought a lawsuit against Premier Cru in a San Francisco federal court for fraud and misrepresentation. And that would lead to one of the largest U.S. court cases for wine wire fraud.
That's insane. I'm surprised there wasn't a class action lawsuit. Like all of the clients band together.
I mean, he doesn't have any money.
No, exactly. Wow.
A few weeks after Premier Cru declared bankruptcy, John Fox filed for personal bankruptcy as well.
That's not surprising at all.
No. He did eventually plead guilty to his charges as part of his deal, which would guarantee no more than 6.5 years in prison. He's required to pay $45 million in restitution to his clients.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're never going to see that money.
No, but they're going to take him for everything he was worth for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was, and when he got convicted, he was 66 at the time.
Okay.
As part of his plea agreement, John detailed all of his crimes. He confessed that he'd begun selling what he called phantom wines sometime around 1993 or 94.
Whoa. That was
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Right? He's been doing
smokes.
it for a very long time.
Jeez, no wonder he was, well, I was going to say, no wonder he's so good at it, but is he really that good at it?
I mean, he made it pretty far.
Yeah, sure enough.
Just between 2010 and 2015, he sold $20 million worth of these phantom wines.
Wow.
So basically, he just took $20 million from people in those 5 years.
That is unfathomable. I can't even wrap my head around that kind of money. Being able to
No.
just, wow.
No.
Wow.
He'd use the money from the new customers to obtain wine for the old ones, and he tapped the company bank accounts, credit cards for all of his personal purchases, his own mortgage, credit card bills, car purchases, everything.
Wow.
And then he spent $900,000 via PayPal on something wild. And Megan, I want you to guess.
$900,000 on PayPal?
Yeah, through PayPal transfers.
Was it Steam video games?
That's
how I pay for mine.
That's a good guess. No, he spent $900,000 on women he dated that he found online on websites.
Oh, he's married.
Yes.
Oh, that disgusting pig. Come on. Oh.
So he would find these young ladies online that are looking for an older gentleman with some money to give them.
Arm candy or whatever.
Yep. There was one particular coffee shop that he would bring most of these ladies to. And the staff talk about it now because he was in there so much with them. And he'd roll up in his fancy sports car with women who were described as 40 years younger than him in middle of the day. And they'd be in, evening wear, tiny little outfits. And he'd wine and dine them in there.
Oh, that's so awful.
Right?
And really kind of gross. I mean, to each their own, but for him to be that way is very not cool.
The way this was all found out is that when they were doing the investigation and looking at his bank records, they saw that starting in 2014, John had been transferring about $10,000 a month through PayPal to a 23-year-old woman in Seattle named Sul Ki-yum. Sul Ki-yum. John admitted that he had connected with her through online dating site, and he met her in California where they had sex. After that, she threatened to tell Fox's family about their affair unless he paid for her expenses.
Of course.
So she demanded $10,000 a month.
Wow.
Girl, what's your expenses?
Seriously. Oh, that's not expenses. That's play money right there.
Right.
Wow.
So investigators actually started digging into this and soon discovered that she was one of many women that John had met online and was sending money to.
Really? For extortion?
But then,
like they all tried to extort him?
She was the only one extorting him.
Does he have babies everywhere? He's paying child support.
Maybe. So John actually agreed to help prosecutors from Seattle because that was extortion, and she was actually doing it to multiple men.
No
like
way.
that was her gig. Is she would find these guys online, meet them, sleep with them, and then threaten to out them.
Okay, well, good on them for finding another criminal in the mix.
Yeah, right. So that's one reason why his sentence was lower on the spectrum, because he gave up all the details and he helped to get her charged with all of that and stop her extortion ring.
Have to lose, I guess, at this point.
Right. She was eventually charged with 4 counts of extortion, and she was also accused of blackmailing at least 3 other men who she met online on sugar daddy websites.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like you should expect that at some point in those kind of sites, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just my thoughts.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that much about sugar daddy
I know nothing, of course, so who am I to judge?
No, I saw an article going around a couple years ago about people that were so hard up to pay for their student loans that they were going to these this was locally too.
What?
That there was a website that people could go to, and it was, I don't know, I didn't look into this, I just read this article, and it was, the website promised that it wasn't like a sexy time thing. It was older people with money looking for companionship. So it would be like go out to coffee with them or be their date at a work party or like stuff like that. And then they would pay you thousands of dollars, and that's how all these people were paid down their student loans.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
John also cooperated with federal investigators on at least 3 other occasions, and even showed them on his computer instances where he had sold wine he had never purchased. So combined with all of this, and because he fully admitted his guilt and turned himself in voluntarily, and he didn't ask for bail, the court documents stated that his sentence should be on the lower end because of how cooperative he was. Our recent-ish update is that John Fox was released from federal custody a year earlier than expected.
Probably on good behavior.
Yeah. So, I'm sure he just went to some white-collar prison.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, totally.
So I'm sure he was playing tennis and doing whatever they do at white-collar prisons.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. So when was that? When was he released?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was I believe he was sentenced in 2015.
Oh, okay.
So like 2020 maybe?
Right. Okay, interesting.
I
wonder if he changed his name.
I don't know. I wonder if he's going to try and, good luck having a business ever again.
Right.
Who would ever trust you?
He'd be over 70 now though, right?
Yeah, because he would be, he'd be just over 70.
Yeah, so I don't know, not that you can retire at that age with no money, but.
Yeah, good luck.
And he probably has no family, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't, because his wife was not really in any of the articles.
Right.
Other than her name.
I'd be very curious to hear, what he's doing now. How is he surviving? How is he going to retire? He probably has to get, a really shitty job.
I hope so. I hope he gets a shitty, miserable job. I don't know. I feel like clearly he thinks he's, King Stink over there.
All that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Remember saying that? That was the biggest compliment of how big and pompous you could be. It's and a bag of chips.
Chips. I ate chips earlier.
Did you?
Because I've been having a rough week and I've just literally been eating garbage every day.
Fair.
Now I don't feel well.
Oh no.
Every day I eat chocolate and chips, and then I'm like, wow, I don't feel well.
Yeah, that probably isn't something you want to sustain for too long.
No, I'm stress eating.
Yes. The longer you stress, the longer this lasts.
Oh, God.
I mean, like, if you make yourself eat crap when you're stressing.
It's true. It'll be a never-ending cycle.
Exactly. Stress will always be there in some form or another, I'm sure.
Yes.
That is life, sadly. I should be taking
That's a sad note
advice,
to bring it
though.
around. We need something happier to end
I
on.
know.
That's depressing.
Yeah, I don't have...
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay. Shoot.
How do you pronounce it? Turmeric or turmeric?
I honestly don't say that word because I don't buy that and I know nothing about it. But
Interesting.
when I hear people say it, I hear them say turmeric.
Turmeric?
Yeah.
Everyone let me know, please.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know how to say it. I thought you were going to tell me how it should be
No.
said. Turmeric.
No.
Yeah.
I was saying it one way and then I heard it said the other way and now I
Turmeric?
just don't know.
No, I don't think turmeric. That doesn't sound familiar to me
Turmeric?
at all. I think I've
Turmeric.
heard people say turmeric. Yeah.
I'm really bad for putting the emphasis somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you don't know, you don't know.
No, I had to buy something at a store recently and I didn't know how to pronounce it. And so I Googled it and literally the internet was split on how to pronounce it.
Oh, really?
I was like, no.
I hate when that happens.
So, and people were like, well, maybe, it's a different region dialect and blah, blah, blah. But then I was like, okay, well, what do people say here? And I couldn't figure it out. So then I went into the store and I was like, hey, I'm looking for this. And then they were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they said it the other way. And I was like, damn it. And then afterwards, I was like, wait, what one did I say? And what one did they say?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I was literally thinking that when you asked me how I say it, I thought about it for too long. And then I'm like, wait a minute, which way did you say? Maybe
Yeah.
I'm actually going to say a third way that's different than the two ways you said it.
Yeah.
Turmeric, yeah.
Yeah, so I still don't know how to say that thing, but I mean, I own it now, so
Okay, well, that's good.
maybe I'll never need to purchase it again.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't have to worry about it. You pronounce it the way you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's how I feel it in my jellies.
Your jellies.
Well, it's your time to roll
on
the themes list. That's a hot mess right now.
It is
so
a
I
hot
hope
mess.
you roll
I am
well.
rolling. I left my D20 on the 20 the entire time, so I'm putting that out there in the universe. I am not afraid to roll my dice, so you will hear it. Here we go. Ooh, a 13. That's not bad. High school was
my lucky number.
literally the worst.
I definitely wrote that theme.
Yeah, you did. Yep, high school, it really was literally the worst. That's awesome.
That's a good category. It's nice and broad, so you can find like anything.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm not too worried about that. That's a good category to have, honestly. Just high school in general was the worst. So glad it's over.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. If you would like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. We are at The Grimdark Diaries. And if you want to find us on Twitter, we are at Grimdark Diaries. And if you'd like to send us over an email, you can reach us at thegrimdarkdiaries@gmail.com. And no matter what podcast you are on the podcast platform, if you want to go ahead and subscribe, follow, whatever those things are that you can do, give us a 5-star rating, comment, whatever you can do on those, we would be greatly appreciated because it does help us to be found by other friends in the dark. So thank you again for joining us. Join us next week to see what I come with. I tried to roll with it. Sound like
No, we laugh at all fuck ups on this show.
It's so true, though.
I'm leaving it in.
And there's a lot. Okay, join us next week to see what I come up with for High School Was Literally the Worst. And remember, a friend in the dark beats alone in the light.